So yes, I am aware iPhone 16 is still months away, but the leaks don't stop and we have new tidbits about more efficient displays and Touch ID, so without further ado, let's delve in. We begin with the display on iPhone 16 because apparently there is a more efficient OLED display in the works for these new phones. Samsung is developing this specifically for Apple, which is interesting because I thought they would reserve their best stuff for their smartphones. But no, you just throw a ton of money at Samsung and they will happily give you their best stuff. So basically iPhone 14 and 15 used M12 OLED panels, and there are now plans for iPhone 16 to use M14 panels. And if you're wondering what all this M nonsense means, basically it's a new version of Samsung's OLED technology and we could see improvements in terms of lifespan, brightness, color accuracy and manufacturing efficiency. And it seems the focus specifically with the M14 is going to be efficiency. The Elec reported that Samsung's OLED development roadmap has highlighted that they could be replacing blue fluorescent materials with a blue phosphorescence, whatever that means. But apparently this should reduce power consumption, and that's always a great thing regardless because it should help improve battery life. And by the way, would like to remind you guys, like this video and subscribe for more content like this. It would be appreciated. Now interestingly, Samsung was actually planning to use this technology first with their foldables, but because foldable displays are very hard to produce, they're just giving away M14 to Apple instead. So has Samsung forgotten they make regular slab phones as well? The S24 is going to be directly competing with the iPhone 16, and yet Samsung's giving away their best asset to the enemy. It's very weird. Of course, I know there's going to be one guy in the comments shouting, technically, Samsung displays a different branch of Samsung and is not part of Samsung Mobile. Which, okay, is a fair point, but at the end of the day, they fall under the same brand, so I do find it a little odd. Apple's getting the superior displays, but hey, as an iPhone user, I'm not complaining, that's great news for us. Anyways, just like iPhone 14 and 15 had the same M12 OLED panels, this report also says it's likely iPhone 17 is going to continue using M14. Yes, we already have leaks about iPhone 17. Tune in for iPhone 18 leaks next week. Jokes aside though, it makes sense they're reusing the same display across 2 generations of iPhone because we have already kind of peaked display wise. Yes, they could get brighter and more efficient, but the display on the 14 Pro was perfectly fine for a majority of consumers. That's why the display did not change with the 15 Pro, and so from now on guys, it's going to be minor tweaks. I think the biggest thing Apple is going to flex is probably higher brightness. The 16 Pros might match the Apple Watch Ultra and give us 3000 nits of brightness outdoors, which would be ludicrous. There was actually an older report suggesting Apple might use some fancy micro lens technology to maintain or increase the brightness of displays whilst reducing power consumption, and actually that would be pretty awesome because whilst I do find 2000 nits of brightness plenty enough for my 14 Pro Max, it does absolutely annihilate the battery life, and so if Apple could fix that, that would be great news. Of course, the display itself is not only getting upgraded, but it's also getting larger with iPhone 16 Pro. Yes, if you think 6.7 inches is too small for your liking, Apple's going even bigger, people. This report once again reiterates the iPhone 16 Pro Max is going to be 6.85 inches, which likely is going to be rounded up to 6.9 inches in the marketing material. Yes, 6.9 inches, that's just perfect. I was actually initially against the Pro Max getting even larger, but with this year's iPhone, the slimmer bezels and the rounder body did make a big difference in terms of in-hand feel. The Pro Max is also a bit lighter this year, so Apple can afford to give us a small size increase, and it should not affect overall comfort when using this device. Plus, a bigger phone always means there's a chance we get a bigger battery inside, and I'm always down for that. But I'm actually excited for the regular iPhone 16 Pro. Apparently that could now be 6.27 inches, which likely is going to be rounded up to 6.3 inches in the marketing material, and I feel like that could be the perfect size for most consumers. Now yes, 6.1 inches is perfectly fine and is very compact, but I do think it's a little too small, and so 6.3 inches could be that perfect sweet spot. I am certainly considering downsizing from my Pro Max, but I think 6.1 inches would be too drastic of a change, and so I'm looking forward to the screen size. Plus remember that with this phone getting slightly larger, it also allows Apple to give us more camera tech inside, and so expect Apple to squeeze in the 5x in the regular Pro. So those are all the display upgrades we've heard about. And to be honest, I think this generation will be focused on the display upgrades. And it makes sense because technically this is the S year. Now, yes, I know every year has sort of become an S year because upgrades have become so minor, but technically Apple is on a 3-year cycle with their phones, and iPhone 16 was a super cycle or a redesign year with a slightly rounder chassis, and so what followed suit after previous super cycles like the iPhone 6, the 10 and the 12, it was an S upgrade like the iPhone 6s, 10s and 13, and all these phones had some sort of display upgrade as their main feature. The 6s introduced 3D touch, 10s gave us a new size option, the 13 gave us a smaller notch and 120Hz on the Pros, so it makes sense the 16 is going to give us new sizes and potential display upgrades like better efficiency and higher brightness. Now I know Apple's working on fancy micro LED panels as we speak, but I have not used or interacted with micro LED in the past, so I have no idea whether this will be a massive leap or not. I know everyone says it's going to be a major upgrade, but that's what everyone says about everything on the horizon, and so we'll have to wait for the micro LED Apple Watch to release first and see the actual real-life benefits of this technology. Moving on to a very obvious report, we have new information claiming the iPhone 16's not gonna bring back Touch ID. Wait, what? That's crazy! Who'd have guessed that? Okay, jokes aside, this comes from a mysterious Weibo source who has been accurate in the past, though it's very easy to be accurate by sharing very obvious info, but anyways, they say most of the equipment originally used to manufacture the chips required for Touch ID has been shut down, and remaining supply they have is going to be used for the SE3, but that's it. They're seemingly done with Touch ID, and the SE4 is going to move on to Face ID. Now, I do want to emphasize that their specific wording says chips for the iPhone version of Touch ID. So for those hoping the iPads can now all switch to Face ID, I don't see that happening just yet. But when it comes to iPhones, it makes sense that Touch ID is dead, okay? Now, there was a point in time where I was hoping for Touch ID to return. This was around the time COVID was a thing, and we all wore face coverings. And so Face ID was a pain to use, but remember, they did actually release an update where you could use Face ID with a mask as well. But ultimately, guys, society has recovered since then, and so Face ID is back to being ever reliable and is perfect. It's super fast, and yes, I know many have complained about the ginormous notch we had because of it, but that's no longer the case. The island is much less distracting than the notch. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you for watching.